Hello and welcome to the Lancora Project's YouTube channel, where we talk about mental health, psychology, productivity, and much more. And if you're not aware, the Lancora Project is a mental health organization that is dedicated towards Asian and Pacific Islander mental health. That being said, our resources are for everyone, and we want to maintain that inclusivity for everyone. So today's topic of discussion is stereotypes and the question of, are stereotypes true? And this can be a really controversial subject. So I just want to talk about a consideration of why stereotypes are constantly being perpetuated and continuing to be confirmed. So to start off with, we have to ask the question of what is a stereotype? And a stereotype is a generalized belief about a group of people, a certain class of people. And part of being a stereotype is that just the nature of stereotypes allow them to be self-perpetuating. So the first phenomenon I want to talk about is a psychological phenomenon called stereotype threat. And basically, if someone is aware of this negative stereotype about their group of people, they'll be worried about confirming that stereotype. And in turn, that hinders their performance, and they actually end up performing worse and confirming that stereotype. And then the opposite case also exists, which is called stereotype lift. So if there's a positive stereotype about a certain group, and they're aware of that, it'll positively boost their performance, increase their self-esteem, and they perform better. To put this into perspective or give a concrete example, you may have heard about the stereotype that Asians are good at math, and then there's another stereotype that women are bad at math. So what happens when you investigate Asian women and their math performance? So there was a study conducted at Harvard in 1999 where they had a group of Asian women, and then they split them into three categories or three experimental groups. So obviously there was the control group, and then there was the female identity group, where before they were told to do the math test, they were given a questionnaire where they asked questions about questions about their female identity. And then the other group was the Asian identity group, where they were asked questions about their Asian identity before doing the math test. So the purpose of these questionnaires that were done before were basically to prime the participants on a certain aspect of their identity. So they're subconsciously thinking about their Asian identity, or they're subconsciously thinking about their female identity. So results showed that participants in the Asian identity condition answered an average of 54% questions correctly. Participants in the control condition answered an average of 49% correctly, and the female identity condition answered an average of 43% correctly. So basically what they found was that when Asian women's ethnic identity was activated, they performed better for stereotype lift. But then they performed worse when their gender identity was activated. So that's stereotype threat. So the moral of the story is that stereotype threat and stereotype lift, they basically work together to exaggerate these performance differences, which in turn further perpetuates the cycle. Now, this is related to another psychological phenomenon, which is called the self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's basically if you have certain expectations about a person, then they might actually end up behaving in a way that actually confirms your expectations. So let's say the Asians are expected to be good at math, and let's say in the classroom setting, the teacher has that expectation that the student will perform better, and then in turn, the teacher will actually treat the student differently, and then this might affect their performance. And then so that's also related. The next point I wanted to bring up is confirmation bias, and this is not about the groups themselves and internally, but other people when they see a confirmation of a stereotype, and then they end up forgetting all the other instances where the stereotype was not confirmed. And this can definitely further perpetuate a stereotype. And if you don't know already, a confirmation bias is basically that when people seek out information that confirms their expectations and basically ignore information that does not confirm their expectations. And lastly, since we're on the topic of Asians in academic performance, I think there's a multitude of other factors, but one I think is really worth mentioning is that part of the reason why the stereotype may be existing is because a lot of these people are immigrants, or at least their parents were immigrants. And in countries like Canada and the US, you only allow immigrants if they're highly skilled workers, really educated or really wealthy. And it kind of forms this sort of selection kind of process. It's not hard to imagine that if the parents are well educated or highly skilled, they would pass this on to their children or raise their children in a way that with lots of resources or ways that will really benefit their children and also help with their performance. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you found this helpful. Hopefully you found some new information. And if you're interested in learning more about stereotypes or how to combat them, comment down below and we'll make a video on that.